Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis. And I have this wonderful team that God lets me manage. It's God's team. It's not my team, but I get to use that team. The first person on there is Faith, my lovely assistant. If you're here, say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us, because we don't get to see who's here like we would in a facility. And Faith will answer you. And any questions you have, she will also answer. Faith's been my assistant since she was born, really. And I used to bring her up on the pulpit when I would do announcements and set her on the pulpit. And then she started doing affirmation cards at the end, and it was really cute. She and her sister Hannah used to hand out affirmation cards at the end of each service. Now she's 17 and my official assistant and our soloist right now. So we really appreciate you, Faith. Thank you for being here. Also, we have my partner in crime since like the 90s. Wise and powerful.
A millennia ago.
Huh?
A whole different millennia.
I know, right? Goodness gracious. And he was my board president for many years and then moved off to Florida. So we're blessed to have him back with us. He's going to pray us in and pray us out, and he'll be available at the end for our 1 minute miracle, but I'll talk more about that later. So thank you, Oz, for being here. I really appreciate it. All right. And our topic today is we're on week 6 of 10 weeks on the road to prosperity, based on my book, using the metaphor of a road trip to success. And along the way, there are various points of interest and tools that we pick up, kind of like a scavenger hunt. This week is going to be clarity. This is week 6, and I'll talk more about that in a little while. Again, say hi if you're here. Hello, good morning, however you want. Just let us know that you're here. In a facility, I can look out and see everybody, but here, not so much. So it's always helpful to know who's here. And if you would like to do a watch party, it's a great way for your friends to see what kind of things we teach, and for you to talk amongst yourselves without bothering anybody. So there's a watch party button, and you can start your own watch party. I know Oz does that frequently. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and feel... if that feels comfortable, and allow yourself to be uplifted and inspired as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Presence of God, behind and moving everything. The prime mover and the prime target. Everything rolling forward happens within this one great presence that we call God. It breathes us, it moves our body, it moves our planet, it moves the stars. It is within everything, motivating everything, enabling everything. For that one great presence and one great power moves through all things. It moves through me, it moves through you, it moves through Tucker, it moves through Faith. And it is the ultimate reality, the ultimate being. And I remember my place in that presence. I remember that place right here, right now, where God always is. And for being here with that, I know that it is good and very good, and the service is a blessing and a joy for all involved. For being part of that joy and that blessing, I give great thanks, and I let it be so, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. This next song, we do a lot of music to open the hearts before we can open the mind to the message of God. So, and God is my word. Use whatever word you want. Allah, Great Spirit, Spirit, whatever, universe, whatever word you want. I just happen to use the word God. But we open our hearts so that the message of God can get through to our minds. And so this next song, the first song was Surely the Presence. And then this next song is going to be We Are All One. And that is one of Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver's songs that we do every week, because that is our message. We are all one. So if you know the words, just sing it loud and sing it proud, because you can't bother anybody, right?
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I receive, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
All right. Again, say hi, hello, good morning, however you'd like to greet us. Let us know you're here. If you like something that you hear, always use the thumbs up. If you love something that you hear, send us hearts, because we love hearts. And if something really hits you as really important or vital to your life, or something really significant happens, by all means, use the wow button. That way I know I'm really on target. I try to be on target as much as possible. Well, God tries to be on target as much as possible through me, but whatever. Okay, so right now I have Faith singing this song called, because we're doing Clarity, I have Faith singing this song called Clarity. And so thank you, Faith. We appreciate you and everything that you do.
I worry, I wait 3 times my body. I worry, I throw my fear around. This morning, there's a calm I can't explain. The rock candy is has melted, now only diamonds remain. Ooh, 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 ooh. By the time I recognize this moment will be gone. But I will bend the light, pretending that it somehow lingered on. All I got was ooh, ooh, ooh. And I will wait to find if this will last forever. And I will wait to find if this will last forever. And I will pay no mind. Well, it won't, and it won't, because it can't. No, it can't. It's not supposed to. Was there a second of time I looked around? Did I sail through, or did I drop my anchor down? Was there anything good enough to kiss the ground? Say I'm here now, and she is here now. Ooh, 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 so much wasted time in the afternoon. So much sacred in the month of June. How about you? And I will wait to find if this will last forever. And I will wait to find that it won't, and it won't, because it can't. And I will pay no mind, worry about no rainy weather. And I will waste no time. We may not live our life together. Oh, 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 Sorry.
Sorry about that. I'm still working on my sermon. You know how that is.
It's good.
Thank you so much. Isn't she amazing? That was a song that like came out of thin air, and she practiced it and got it. So thank you. She did a great job. Oh, let's see. All right. Okay, so today's topic is clarity, and we are going to be talking about clarity. It's very important. I mean, think about what would happen if you went into a restaurant and you said, I'm hungry, I want food. And the waitress said, well, what kind of food would you like? And you said, oh, I don't care, just bring me anything. And you don't particularly like mushrooms. And so she brings you a plate of mushrooms. But that's what we do. I want prosperity. I don't care, what it looks like. I just want prosperity. And we don't give a definition of what that means to us. And then we expect God to fill in the answers. And then, you know, what comes is not exactly what we wanted, and then we're upset. We think that our manifestation didn't work, or that God's answer to us is no, and that's just not the case. And we say, I don't really care what it looks like or feels like, just bring it, but we do care. We really do care. We think it's not right to care, so we say to ourselves, it doesn't really matter. Whichever way it shows up, whatever shows up, I'm good. Then we look at what came and said, well, that wasn't exactly what I wanted, but we didn't specify. So because we don't believe in a 911 God who's going to keep throwing things at us until it hits the right thing, we have to state our intention, but we have to be very clear about what that intention is. Not just prosperity, but what does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What is the experience of having prosperity? We don't tell God how to create it. We don't have a picture of exactly how it comes to us. We focus on exactly what we want, and we get very, very clear about it. Alexander Graham Bell was commissioned to work on a telegram. And he went to his boss. He had this idea that he wanted to communicate and let people hear the voice of the other person. Call Daisy, please. And Daisy, go on. Hang on one second. Just have to. Call Daisy, please. She's sitting over here drooling on my lap. Poor Lynn's trying to wrangle all these animals. But anyway, Alexander Graham Bell wanted what was most important in his mind was the idea of being able to communicate. And he had the vision of a telephone and what it was going to be like to communicate hearing someone else's voice. He shared this idea with his boss, and his boss laughed at him. And Bell at that time was teaching a sign language class to the School of the Deaf. And there was this one kid that was having real issues because he was afraid of hearing his own voice. And so Bell took a horn kind of thing and stuck it in his ear, and they started playing with different sounds. So it was desensitizing this kid so that he wasn't afraid of the sounds that he was hearing. And eventually he was able to hear his own voice and be okay. And the teacher, unfortunately, the other teacher would humiliate this student every time he wouldn't speak up. And so once Bell figured that out, he was able to speak up and got rid of all the bullying that the teacher was doing. But what it did is it helped him develop the telephone. He got the idea of how to make sound come through wires, basically, by doing this exercise with this kid. Now, can you imagine a world without a telephone? I mean, seriously, I do everything on my phone. I'm sure everybody else does too. We do social media on it. We keep our calendars on it. We call people, we text, we do all of these things with the telephone. Imagine what the world would be like if Alexander Graham Bell if he had focused on the telegram and not gotten very clear about what his passion was for and what he wanted to do. He wanted communication, but he didn't want just any old communication. He wanted a specific form of communication. And he didn't specify how it had to come about. He just followed his instincts and the various, he created various forms before he got to what we have today, or something similar to what we have today. But he was working toward that goal the whole time. And his intention was very, very clear that it was going to be communication where people could hear each other's voices. So that's what we need to do. If we're working up toward prosperity, we need to know, what does that look like, feel like, smell like, sound like when we have reached our goal? I can tell you right now that everybody's idea of prosperity is different. I worked for this woman a long time ago, one of the 5 most wealthy families in Colorado. But when I worked for her, her family had started to lose everything. And she took me out to lunch one day, and she kept going on and on and on about how she only had $500,000 in her savings account, how poor she felt. And it finally occurred to me, because I had like $10 in my savings account and like a negative amount in my checking account. It finally occurred to me that it isn't the amount of money. It isn't the zeros or where they are. It's what you feel prosperity is. You see, like to her, that was not prosperity. To me, $500,000 in my savings account was prosperity. So it's really, really important for us to get an example, or get a feeling, an idea of what prosperity actually is to us. What does it smell like? What does it feel like? When we have reached our goal, what does it look like? What am I going to spend that money on? What am I going to do with that money? If we're working on relationships, what does it look like, feel like, smell like, sound like when I'm in a relationship that is good for me? If I'm working on health, what does it feel like, smell like, sound like when I'm healthy? You see? When we teach spiritual mind treatment, our form of affirmative prayer, we ask students to come up with a purpose statement before beginning the treatment. And there's a definite reason for that. If I'm going to pray successfully, I need to know what it is I'm praying about. I've had students turn in a treatment that has a purpose statement for one thing and a totally different treatment that's totally for something else. And I say, so what did you create? And they say, nothing. Well, I wonder why that is. Think about it. If you state this purpose and then you go somewhere else with the prayer, the universe doesn't know what the heck you're talking about, because we don't believe in this rescue 911 God that's going to throw things at us until we get the right thing. And so it's really important for us to get very, very clear about what it is we're trying to create and stick with it. Make our purpose statement to ourselves. You don't have to write it down. It helps if you do, but I make my students write it down because it's part of the process. But if you want to write your own purpose statement, do it. I think that's a great idea. Then you can measure everything against that purpose statement. For instance, one morning I woke up and I didn't like the way my clothes felt. They were tight, and I just felt like I wasn't having an experience that I liked. And I'd been dieting on and off for years, trying to force it. I went on whatever fad diet was in fashion at the time. And as soon as I would start to eat regular again, the weight would come back and then some. Anybody else have that experience? Yeah. I'd go through this cycle all the time. And so one day I just woke up and said, I'm just not willing to go up one more size. I'd gone up 5 sizes already, and that was my limit. I got very clear about what it was that I wanted. I wanted a thin toned body that felt comfortable in my clothes. I wanted to enjoy wearing them. I wanted to be able to wear more form-fitting things. I didn't want to wear all these baggy things all the time. And first I read about this. So I got very specific about what it looked like and felt like when I had this thin toned body, and the perfect diet just showed up for me. What happened was I read this book, and in the book they were talking about this diet. And instead of going, yeah, I'm going to just do this diet, I felt this like connection all of a sudden. I felt a connection with this diet. It's hard to describe, but you'll know it. I mean, when you know something's right, you feel that. Well, I feel it. Some people see it. Some people hear it. We'll go through that another time. But I felt this connection with that material. However, I wasn't willing to spend $10,000 at this German clinic and have to travel to Germany to get this diet. And that's the only place that it was at the time. So I kind of put the book to the side and the idea to the side and thought, well, maybe someday I'll do that. And I was sitting there minding my own business one day, and a TV commercial came on for this chiropractor in Pueblo that was doing, it's HCG is the name of it, but he was doing this HCD diet for people. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right here in my own backyard. And so I called him up to see how much it was going to be, and it was affordable. And I said, okay, let's do this. And it was so interesting because when I saw that TV commercial, I was actually busy doing something, and all of a sudden my awareness shifted right to that TV. Like I zoned in on that like an eagle looking for a mouse, and I felt that same resonating feeling within me that this is it. This is the one. And so I knew that was my clarified intention. And so the diet, reset my metabolism. I lost 60 pounds. I actually lost a little more than that. But I gained a few pounds back because my body had its own correct setting, and I wasn't listening to my body. I said, no, you don't understand. We have to go down to this weight, this particular weight. And my body said, no, you don't understand. We're not going there. And if we do, we're putting it back on. So I finally listened to my body and said, okay, I can accept the other, I think it was like 5 pounds. And, and so I kept that 60 pounds off for about 6.5 years. And I pretty much was able to eat anything I wanted. I had a couple of trigger foods I had to stay away from, but for the most part, I was able to eat anything I wanted. And this worked until I developed a thyroid condition called Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. And the point is, when I made that decision and I became very clear about what I wanted it to look like, feel like, etc., the perfect way to get my goal manifested. I didn't tell God how I was going to get there. I didn't really care how at all. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know that I didn't want to be sick. So I changed my clear intention to release fat in a healthy way. You know, instead of just saying, I want a thin toned body, I started saying, I want a thin toned body, and I release all of that fat in a healthy way. Notice I didn't say lose fat. Anything lost can be found again. So again, we're working with intention. Intentionally, I said release fat, not lose fat. So we measure all of our actions against our clear intention. And there were many times that I wanted to eat foods I was craving because I was only allowed 500 calories a day, and there was only like 8 foods allowed. And there were definitely times I wanted to eat something that was very, very bad for the process. But what I told myself is, this is my clarity point. This vision that I have for myself is what I really want, and I'm willing to do absolutely anything to get there. So I measured every decision that I made against that. And again, at the top of my priority of values, my list, remember we went through the values list, at the top of my priority was a thin, healthy body. And as I began to create this experience over a 5-month period, I became more and more clear about everything else in my life too. It started to affect my prosperity. It started to affect my relationships. It started to affect how I was in the world. It started to affect my congregation. It affected everything in my life in a good way once I became clear. So what I began to see is what clarity brings to us when we're really clear about the result that we're looking for. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about intention. Setting the intention and manifesting the intention means that we must have clarity about that intention. And then we have to be clear about the process of it. What do we want? What do you want? What do you really, really want? Doesn't have to be money or weight. It's whatever you want. If health is an issue, then what health means to you is what you have to get clear about and what health looks like and feels like. If you're having a bad relationship and that's the issue, you want to have a good relationship. You want to get clear about what that looks like and feels like. My late editor, Dr. Margaret Stannard, God bless her, I miss her, had me rewrite the introduction of my book because she was not a visual person, and my introduction made her crazy. Because I used so many words that were visual words, like image, visioning, visualization. And so she had me rewrite the introduction to say, visualization or images does not mean you see a picture. We're going to be talking about gift order in a few weeks, but suffice it to say that however you retrieve information is the right way for you. It doesn't have to be a visual picture. It doesn't matter whether it's a sound or a feeling or just a knowingness. It doesn't matter. When I say image or I say visualization or when I say picture what you want to picture what you want to have, what I'm really saying is to allow it to come to you in whatever format you are able to receive it. Here's a perfect example. I'm really not visual either, and it's funny because I use a lot of visual words. I know I do. And I think that's because our society uses a lot of visual words, especially when we're talking about this kind of stuff. But someone once told me that if I was ever scared of the ice on the freeway or of crashing or something, if I get afraid in the car, that I should put a pink bubble around the car. Okay, I thought I'd try it. I did my best to see a picture of a pink bubble around my car. I worked on it for the longest time, for years. I worked on being able to see that pink bubble. And I was never able to do that because I'm not a visual person. I'm visual, but not high visual. And so one day, all of a sudden I realized I had been safe all that time. And it had taken my mind off of whatever. But I realized what the important thing was, that I had a knowingness that there was a pink bubble around my car. I didn't have to see it. I just had to know that there was a pink bubble around my car. And so every time I thought pink bubble, it had the desired effect. I began to feel calm, like everything was going to be okay. And I felt protected. And that was the point of the entire process. And so another example is, does anybody remember the Stephen King novel and movie Firestarter? Do you remember that movie? This little girl could start fires with her mind. And it was because her mother and father had participated in some kind of experiment at the university where they were giving some kind of chemical compound that allowed them to manipulate their gifts. Specifically, they were, the father was able to push. So like, for instance, they were in a cab and they didn't have any money for the cab. And so he handed him just plain paper and pushed with his mind. And the cab driver thought it was a $20 bill. And so he took them where they needed to go. And the father taught this little girl this push method. And after seeing this movie, which is really funny that because I know it's fiction, but after seeing this movie, I thought, I'm going to start experimenting and playing with pushing, not to get free stuff, but to see if I could push. My issue was I always had people who would follow me closely behind my car. And it just made me crazy all the time. So I wanted to see if I could push them away, because the alternative was not a good one. When at one point I had stopped smoking for like 5.5 months, but I was so angry and full of rage the entire time. And I was driving to work one day and this guy was following me too closely, and my rage got the better of me and I slammed on my brakes and I hear this and he pulls off onto the side of the road. And I looked back about a half mile later and realized he was still sitting on the side of the road. Now, I could have caused him to have a heart attack. I mean, that's not a good way to do it. So I started playing with this pushing. And these days, when somebody follows me too closely, I go, get back, and I push with all of my might in my mind. It's amazing. It works. It's really funny. I figure that the reason it works is because I have all this emotion involved in it in a positive way, instead of it being a negative way, like being angry. But I say, get back. And it's more, I get a feeling of push. It's not that I see them pushing back or whatever, but they back off. It works. And as I talk about images and I talk about picturing something or visualization, please know that you don't have to have a picture of it. You just have to get a sense of it, whether that's feeling or just a knowingness in your mind, whatever that is, however you get your information is up to you. What's really important is that we get a concept of it, because we have to have a mental equivalent of what we want to create. So when you have clarity about your intentions, you're focused. And with focus, there is a movement and energy in the direction that you desire. If there's no negative or contrary belief between where you are right now and where you intend to be, the energy will move instantly to create the manifestation of your goal. What begins to happen when we have that negative or limiting belief that's just sitting back there in our mental computer, the subjective mind that I talked about, that's arguing with us, the energy is already being created in that direction, but it gets stopped at some point. A few weeks back, I talked about looking at these beliefs and figuring out what we want to do with them. If there's a barrier in the way, focusing on your intention will rapidly bring the fear and beliefs to the surface, so we can deal with it. Work with that belief as it surfaces and affirm the opposite, because the barrier cannot stand up to the light of truth. You're going to be ready to accept your good. Clarity and intention are a way of building a foundation for your life. Just think what would happen if you built a house without a proper foundation. It'd be very top heavy, and the first wind that came up would blow the house away, right? Like in the little Piglets. Or the Three Bears, I guess it was. 3 Bears. When we know that, we need to create that foundation. That we need to create that foundation. It's the same thing when we're manifesting something. We have to create a very strong, proper foundation. Otherwise, what we do manifest, we probably won't be able to manifest at all. But what we do manifest won't stay with us. You know, how many times have you heard about somebody who had won the lottery, for example, and the next day the IRS came and claimed it all because they hadn't done taxes in 10 years, or their ex-spouse came and claimed it because of back alimony or back child support that they didn't pay. Or they had some kind of catastrophe happen in their lives and lost all the money. How many times have you heard about that? If you look at the statistics, it's absolutely remarkable how many people win the lottery and have $0 within just a short time. So that's what you want to make sure of, is that you are creating that foundation, the proper foundation for your manifestation, not only to come into your life, but to stay in your life. Instead of saying I'm manifesting a lot of money, we're going to start thinking a lot about what it means to have a lot of money and tune into what experience having a lot of money is going to provide us. What does it feel like when I have a lot of money? What can I do when I have a lot of money that I can't do right now? What does it mean to have a lot of money? What does it mean to keep a lot of money? What does it mean to flow a lot of money? Which means giving and receiving. We open that flow up and keep it going. Not all of it out, which is what usually happens. When we build that foundation, we have an in and out, an in and out. It's very good for us to participate in that law of circulation, which is why I'm teaching you to step up to tithing, because you're giving back to your source. And in giving back to your source, you are giving and receiving. And that's a really important point. Our community is a perfect example of making sure you have a good foundation, a proper foundation. When we first opened, people came because it was located in a place that was convenient to their home. And I believe that we have now transmuted that intent into an intentional community. We're here not because it's convenient, but because we're getting what we need from our community. I like to think that's so. Hopefully it is. But that's what I believe it is. And so in our church, we have managed to create this intentional community where people come and they talk amongst themselves and we lean on each other. And I believe that the messages that God delivers through me are helping us, all of us, with our spiritual food, to be able to achieve the goals that we set out for ourselves. I think that's what's in operation in this book, is that intentional community that is God operating through us. Now, if you have beliefs or limiting beliefs, or you have anti-prosperity beliefs, let's put it that way, that you don't deserve money or that money is evil, you're not going to be able to manifest anything, because that money is going to signify something bad to you. Either I don't deserve to keep it, which it will come in and then immediately flee, or if you think money is evil, why would it even come in? See, if your goal is, say you want to manifest $75 million, okay? Most of us, that is so out of our reach, out of our comfort zone, that we wouldn't be able to do it. So before we can do that, we have to develop a comfort zone. We have to visualize ourselves overcoming those beliefs first. So for instance, I don't deserve money. We are going to visualize ourselves deserving money, being awarded money because we are so good. We're such good people that someone is awarding us money. You see what I mean? We're going to visualize that instead. Or if we think money is evil, we're going to argue our way back. Money can't be evil. It's a piece of paper. Evil doesn't exist, actually. When you think about it, if God is all there is and God is all good, then there's no evil to be had. It's what we do and what we think and how we act that are ways that are not consistent with the vibration of God that make it evil. You see what I'm saying? But evil doesn't, as an entity, doesn't exist, and money can't be evil because it's just a piece of paper. You see, it can't have thoughts or actions or beliefs or anything like that are evil. It's just a piece of paper. Okay? So we have to argue our way through money isn't evil. Money is good. Where does money come from? God. How do we know that? God created trees out of itself. Where does money go? Where does money come from? It grows on trees. How do we know that? Money is made of paper. Where does paper come from? Wood. Where does wood come from? Trees. You see? So we're going to argue our way back to that idea that money is good. All right. So then once we have achieved that, once we can get rid of those beliefs, then we start to increase that money to our comfort zone and then beyond. All right. So say I can fully visualize myself having $1,000 a month. Great. Let's strive for 1,500. How does that feel? Let's strive for 2,000. How does that feel? Let's strive for 2,500. How does that feel? Until you get to the point where you're just a little uncomfortable. And then you look at the beliefs that are surfacing. Because part of this process is that anything that is unlike what we have intended and what we have become clear about will jump up and show itself. And that's our opportunity to heal those beliefs. And so we're going to work with those beliefs like I talked about a few weeks ago. We're going to work with those beliefs, and then we're going to increase it again until we're not comfortable. And then we're going to work on what it is that we believe that makes that uncomfortable for us, you see? And we work our way up to that 75 million. Not many of us can get that far. I haven't gotten that far, certainly. You know, I have made $5,000 a month. So for me, $5,000 a month is very, very comfortable. $10,000 a month is a little stretch for me. So I work on that $10,000 a month as part of my process. If healing is what you want, you're not going to visualize the process. There's exceptions to that rule. I will say that out front. Bernie Siegel in his book talks about cancer patients visualizing the chemo as being Pac-Man eating up all the cancer cells. In that case, yes, of course, you are going to visualize the process. Actors and athletes and very successful business people have used visualization for a very, very long time. And they don't visualize the process. They visualize the end goal. And so we're not going to visualize ourselves going to a specific doctor that has all the answers we need, or a specific vitamin or supplement is going to take care of our lives. We're not going to visualize that. What we're going to do is we're going to visualize what it feels like when we're healthy, what it sounds like when we're healthy. What are we able to do when we are healthy that we can't do right now? What are our limitations? And another thing, like cancer is a perfect example. I follow this lady on TikTok who has breast cancer. And one of the reasons I follow her is I just love her. She said when she was diagnosed with cancer, she said, I decided that I was going to hear that word a lot and I didn't want it to affect me. So she said, I've taken that word and I've made something else out of it. She said, yes, I can, sir. I can survive. I can, I can't even remember all the ways she manipulated that word. But she did that, and because of that, anytime somebody says cancer, it turns around in her head, you see? And so she doesn't have to be afraid of that word, because 99% of it is being afraid of the diagnosis and the word. But I follow her for that very reason. And so we want to make sure that we're visualizing not that we have cancer, but that we are cancering at this moment. You see? It's an action instead of a noun. When we action it instead of it being a noun that is something to be afraid of, when we can make it a verb and say, I am cancering at this moment, we are able to overcome that a lot easier. When we claim it for ourselves and we say, I have cancer, then we wind up having a problem. That's why I say I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I don't say I have it. I say I've been diagnosed with it. And I'll say from time to time, boy, that Hashimoto's is flaring up. But I'm Hashimotoing in the process. And it takes the sting out of it. It also makes it less powerful. Now, if you're working on relationships, for example, don't visualize meeting somebody at a specific event, or the only way you think you can meet them is through social media or a dating app or anything like that. You're not going to visualize that. What you're going to do instead is you're going to visualize what it means to be happy in a relationship. You're going to visualize doing things that make you happy, that you love doing, and you're going to be with a person that has no face and no name. but you are enjoying it as a couple. And you're going to allow yourself to visualize what that means. Like bowling, for example. If you like going bowling, visualize yourself going bowling. You can't see the face of the person. You don't know what their name is. But every time you make a strike, you guys hug and celebrate, right? Or if you like going to the park and reading books, and you have this person next to you that is reading with you, reading something else, you're not sitting on each other. If that makes you happy, that's what you want to focus your visualization on. If you want to visualize, I don't know, going to an amusement park with that person, that's all great. I remember our congregation manifested the money for this keyboard one time. We did a great job of visualizing this keyboard being there. We forgot to visualize the person playing it. And I thought for a long time before we got out of our facility, I thought for a long time that what we needed to do was take a cardboard cutout of some famous keyboard player, set it behind the keyboard, and just block out the face. So we didn't know, there wasn't an actual face to it or hair or anything, block out that whole thing. But there would be a person sitting behind that keyboard, and that would be our visualization. We didn't end up doing it, and unfortunately, we never manifested a keyboard player. But that's the kind of thing that we want to do. Now, in terms of relationships, I want to say something here. We all have free will, so you can't visualize for someone else. That's why if you are visualizing a relationship, you are not going to use their name, and it's not going to be a specific person, and you're not going to see a face with it. We can't visualize for someone else. And we're creating grooves in our own brain, just like with affirmations, that facilitates the ready access of that vision. And it allows us to have that experience. Well, we can't create grooves in anyone else's brain. That is just not in our purview. Sometimes we human doings are just so funny because we think we can bend the laws to our will for what we want, regardless of what that other person wants. And that's just not true. You cannot do that. I had this, one of my mentor ministers, this was something she taught us about, Dr. Kathleen Vogt, who in her younger years, when she was first in the ministry, had this friend from England. I think her name was Virginia. And she was dying of cancer. And Kathy, or Dr. Kathleen, I should probably be more proper. Dr. Kathleen sat at her bedside, and she was praying for Virginia to get better. And so Virginia would come in and out, in and out, in and out. And finally, Virginia said to her, "I don't know what you're doing, but stop it. I need to leave." And so Dr. Kathy said, "Oh, I see." And she had to let her go. And it was at that point that she realized you cannot really force another person. You can't bend the laws to your will and force another person to do something you want. It has to be their decision. What you can do is you can put the possibility out there. You can treat, for example, for their health, knowing that they are whole and healthy, whatever that looks like. Sometimes that means they'll stay on the planet, and sometimes that means they will go, if that is the process for them. But a healing, healthy, whole body does not necessarily mean this physical form that we have right now. And what we do when we do prayers for that is we create the possibility out in the sea of receptivity that I've talked about before, where everything is, all of us pull from the sea of receptivity, because it's the collective subjective mind. Remember the computer that is in our head? Well, there's this sea of receptivity that is basically the same thing. It's a computer that everybody puts in information and everybody draws out information. So we can put the possibility of their health and wellness into the sea of receptivity, but it is up to them to pull out what it is. So if they want to leave the planet, they're going to leave the planet. If they want to get well, they will get well. I had this friend many years ago, actually when I was in the school ministry, just graduated. And I had this friend, Dr. Paula, and she had pancreatic cancer, I believe it was, or was it liver cancer? I don't remember now. But anyway, I went to go see her in Oklahoma, and I said, I will pray for whatever you want, dear. If you want to leave the planet, I'll pray for you to leave the planet. If you want to stay, I will pray for you to stay. Whatever you want, I'm going to pray. And she said, do I look like a 64-year-old man? I said, no. And she said, well, all of the statistics are based on 64-year-old men, and I have no intention of going anywhere. So what I heard was, I want to live. Did you hear that at any point? She did not say, I want to live. And so I started praying for her to live. And like 2 weeks before my panels, my oral panels to become a minister, she died. And I was beside myself and cried all the way through my panels, and had to explain why I was crying. And it wasn't a good situation for me, because I firmly believed that God's answer to me was no. And it wasn't until one of my mentor ministers, Reverend Bonnie Allen Rice, said to me, I never heard her say in that story, I never heard her say, I want to live. That was your expectation, that she wanted to live. And so you were praying for her to want to live. But you cannot affect another person. You obviously cannot make someone else stick around. So just so you know, relationships, other people's health, other people's finances, not your business. Okay. So if money is what you want, you're not going to visualize yourself winning the lottery. Nope. You're going to visualize what your life will be like when you have all the money you could ever want or need. What would you spend the money on? Would you buy a house? What kind of house would you buy? What would all the accoutrements be? Would it have a nice big yard? Would it have 3-car garage? Let yourself fantasize and get into the fantasy of it. What does this house look like? What does it feel like? What are all the things about it that are perfect just for you? See yourself spending the money on whatever you want. Perhaps that's paying off all your bills. Perhaps it's traveling to Paris to shop, like my friend Dr. Marlene and her spouse, CAC. They would go to Paris on these shopping trips. They gifted me with this wonderful, CAC likes purple just like I do. So they gifted me with this purple box that contained all these purple things, a little money case from Neiman Marcus. There was all these little things in there, and purple contacts, because they liked to shop when they went to Paris. So they would go to Paris and do that. So visualize yourself doing whatever it is that you want to do with that money. If you're visualizing a relationship, see yourself in those activities that make you the most happy with another person. Again, faceless and nameless. See, it's simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. And while you're doing this manifestation process, sometimes it's better to just keep your own counsel until you manifest it. Then you can tell everybody how you manifested it. And the reason I say that is because many times people's beliefs will throw up at you. Like, I'm going to manifest $10,000 a month. And the other person will say, $10,000 a month? How the hell are you going to do that? You see? So you're going to keep your own wise counsel until you manifest. And then you can share with them later how you did that. Now, instead of us praying out today, I'm going to run you through a little visualization that you can do for yourself, or you can use mine. It'll be available either on YouTube or on our website or Facebook or SoundCloud. But I'm going to run you through this visualization real quick. So Faith, I'll need you to do music here. First of all, before we get started, I want you to take just a moment and think about what it is with great clarity you would like to work on. And when you have it, because I'm going to just let you do that, when you have it, please do the thumbs up in the comments section, so I know that we're ready to move on. Think about what you want to work on. Is it health, relationship, money, prosperity? And get really clear about a specific thing that you would like to manifest in that vein. And when you have that in mind, just do the thumbs up so I know that everybody's on board. Okay. I'm going to go ahead because we're running out of time. So hopefully you've got something in mind. Okay, Faith. Okay, close your eyes and take in a nice deep breath with me. Hold it for a few seconds and release. It's very important to release that breath. Take another deep cleansing breath in. Hold it and release. Now take another really deep cleansing breath in, all the way from your toes. Hold it and release. I'd like for you to imagine right now that you are walking on a hillside. Experience in its full beauty the sounds of the birds, the sounds of a babbling brook if there's one there, the feeling of the wind or breeze on you, the sight of the clouds up above, or the flowers down below. Let yourself just fully be present on that hillside. And now walk up that hillside to the top. At the top, you're going to find an easel, some brushes, and paint. And if you are not artistically, if you feel like you're not artistically created, if you are artistically challenged, let's put it that way, please know that you have been given this magical ability to paint with a flair, just like all the masters. That whatever challenge you've had in the past just disappears and you are able to paint. And I'd like you to paint and experience just a brief snapshot of what it looks like when you have achieved your goal. Remember, you may just get a feeling, but when you put that hand to the brush and the brush to the paper, it comes out as a picture. It may just be a knowingness, but again, you're able to translate that onto paper. Paint it with as much detail as you possibly can. If it's a relationship, of course, you're not going to put the person's face in, but you're going to put a person next to you, doing whatever it is that makes you happy. If you're working on health, you're going to put a picture of you doing an activity that you are limited by now with your health. And if it's money, you're going to paint something that either is out of your reach right now or a place that you would love to go to that you are limited in going right now. Just let yourself just fill it in completely. And you can do so rapidly because you have this magic gift now. I'm going to give you a few minutes just to finish that picture. And so right now, I claim these images on your behalf as truth, as reality. Because I know that God is simply all there is, all there ever has been, all there ever will be, and all there is, right here, right now. God in me, as me, is me. For that is my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that one infinite power, one infinite presence. That is God. That's so for the team of God that I get to manage, for Faith, for Lynn, for Oz, for we are one. And that is so for everyone viewing today, whether in real time or at a later date. And so right now, I claim in your name that perfect picture that is created by your intention, by your clarity. As I claim it for every name that is in the ministry of prayer today, I know that it is so. I know that it is blessed. I know that it is good and very good. I give thanks for it, and I let it be. And so it is. So take a breath in real quick. Just sort of feel your body, wiggle your fingers and toes, and bring your attention back into the room. Sorry for the barking. Somebody knocked on the door. I have a suspicion it was little Ruby. She's 6. Anyway, now that your attention is back into the room, we are quickly going to do the offering and a quick version of our announcements. So this week you're going to be doing this visualization or another one like it for 10 minutes every day, for which you are going to award yourself $1,000 every time you do it. If you choose to do it 5 or 6 times a day, more power to you. But for every minute, you're going to give yourself $100. So if you do 10 minutes, that's $1,000. You're going to keep giving yourself $100 for all of coming to church. For each affirmation you do one time. If you do it 100 times, that's $10,000. I really don't care how much money you give yourself for these things. That's just a suggestion. You can give yourself $100,000. I don't really care. The idea is for you to see yourself getting that money and doing something with it. That's the object here. So you're going to put it in your spiritual bank account, and your mind is going to imagine that it is real. And that's the point of all of this. So today you're going to give 6%, which gives you $600 or $6,000. No, $600 plus whatever 6% is that you are tithing. This is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings right now. And it is your opportunity to give out of that place of knowingness that it will return to you tenfold. Also, to give thanks for that which you have already received in form and that which you have created in mind but have not necessarily seen in form yet. So please go to www.oasiscsl.org. It's on the screen here. It's also in the comments. In the middle of that page, you're going to see our offering affirmation, and you're going to say it with us. Whether you're doing this in real time or later on, doesn't matter. You're saying it along with us. That's the point. Because we're blessing the money to make sure that everywhere it touches is blessed. Okay. So again, go to oasiscsl.org, middle of the page. Say this offering affirmation with me now. This perfect gift is spirit and form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give, and joyously I receive. And so it is. All right. Go ahead and click that Contribute Now button. We have a ministry of prayer. Oz is available for what we call our 1-minute miracle. It is not a time for counseling, but it is a time where you can share whatever condition you're experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. What's the mad thing about? Who's angry? Okay. whatever that is. But he's available for what we call our 1 minute miracle. Take advantage of this loving service he provides by reaching out to him through video chat. And please know that we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners we call our God Squad, who will pray every day on prayer requests that you have for a week. So if you would like a prayer, something for prayer, put it in the comment. If you don't want to do it publicly, you can message one of us and we will be happy to add it to our prayer list. You don't have to be a licensed practitioner in order to serve on our God Squad team. You only have to be willing to, I know it's not you. I looked at it. I don't know the name. Thank you though, Joy. We have this wonderful team that you can serve on if you're willing to do affirmative prayer and you're willing to do it every day for a week and you commit to it and we'll follow through on it. If so, type yes in the comment section and we'll get you added to that list. Like I said, we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners that are available for counsel, for spiritual guidance by appointment for a fee. And you'll reach them through our website, oasiscsl.org. And you can reach out to them either that way or by Facebook and let them know that you would like to have a session with them. And they'll arrange for you to do Cash App or Venmo or whatever, PayPal, to set up the session. And then they will reach out to you by video chat at your appointed time. We have, and if you would like to be a part of our online community, type more in the comments and Faith will add you to our public facing group Facebook page. All right. Bracelets by Brooks and Bailey. Beautiful bracelets. Nice. I love the little connectors now. Let me see. I got to get to that. I'm looking at the comments here. There it is. Okay. So all the proceeds benefit Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue. You get in touch with her by Brooks and Bailey 0307 at Gmail. And then Faith has something to say. Do it quickly, please.
This is a metaphysical shop. Definitely check it out. The website is www.themysticbrew.com. It has intention jars and bath salts, so check it out, see what you can find.
Cool. And this one that I have right here that is a prosperity intention jar is $15. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can see, it's pretty cool. So definitely check that out. Also check out Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver's music. Faith has that showing right now. You will have to contact her to buy her stuff because she moves around a lot and she is unable to update her website everywhere she goes. She's on the road a lot, visiting different towns and singing and what have you. So make sure that you email her if you want to buy one of her songs. Karen Drucker has her songs available by song, by CD. She has songbooks. Some of them have American Sign Language in them. So we like to support those that support us. And Karen Drucker has gifted us with her entire collection. We'll be doing her song next, which is We Are So Blessed. And that's one of them that's on there. So check it out. Also check out our website, oasiscsl.org, and you can get to some of our sermons that are in the past, some of them that are now current. But anyway, here we go. Here's our closing song. Sing it loud and sing it proud.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And right here, right now, I know that God is present. Right here with me, right there with you, wherever you are, wherever you can be, God will be there. For God is all there is. God is infinite, eternal, and brings blessings and unfolds the very existence that we experience. For being part of that, for being part of this service and part of this week as it unrolls, I give thanks and let it be so, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I know there's 1,000 places you could be doing something on a Sunday morning. We're glad you're here with us instead. We love you. Wear a mask. Be safe. Get your vaccinations. And tune in next week at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. We love you. Blessings.